Hello, this is Sunny Days. It is 2121 and it is 23 of August 2026. And what I'm doing is I am going to make some homemade potato chips out of just regular potatoes. So here we go. So I got a pile right here. Okay, so I'm using this grater right here. There's like a lot of different settings on it, and I'm just using this side. You know, you can go the expensive route and buy yourself a fancy food processor and stuff, but this only takes a few. You know, it just takes a second to do it. So here's how thin my potatoes are gonna, my potato chips are gonna be. Some were a little thicker because it got closer to my hand, and I don't want to slice my hand again because I've already, got a couple cuts on my hand from doing this before. But these are adequate. And then I'm heating up this oil. Okay, and it's starting to bubble, but because I've got some debris in there from doing it before, I shouldn't have turned on the light. How about that? And there's too much reflection. So I'm going to take some of this out. I've got something to screen it out with, and I will, so just bear with me for a moment. Okay, so we're back on, and anyhow, we are going to start dropping the potatoes in the frying oil. Okay. If it's really hot oil, I wouldn't recommend you do it with your hand. I'd recommend a tong, which I'm gonna be popping out here in a second. But yeah, you don't want this hot oil on you. And if you really want to be safe, it's not a nerdy thing, but you can wear safety glasses, because when oil pops, if it gets on your freaking eye, you're gonna lose some sight. You're gonna go to the hospital, and you probably won't. I don't know. You might stop what you're doing on YouTube. A lot of people are so addicted to YouTube. It's insane. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these individual slices separated, because when you're trying to cook them, what happens is the carbohydrate tries to bind with the other ones, and then you just end up with hold on one second. You end up with cooking that is not complete. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the timer. I'm going to put it on to 5 minutes, because I tested it the other night, and 5 minutes was actually a good time for this. So I'm going to go ahead and put some paper towel on this cookie sheet over here, and then when I do that, it'll be able to soak up the oil when it is done. So for now, I'm going to put a screen over it so it doesn't make a mess, and this is where we're going to go from there. So here we go. We're going to get some paper towel. I think that 3 pieces of paper towel will probably work. I can probably spread them out to where it'll soak up all the grease. But this is what you want to do. So you put your paper towel down there, and then you go back over here, and then you go to keep warm and start. Don't forget to hit the start button, because if you don't hit the start button, then what happens after that is a timer is activated, and then it turns off. So I'm gonna take this out, that way I don't have a bunch of stuff in the oven. But anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and wait 4 minutes. So I will be right back with you on. So I do a lot of home cooking. I do a lot of different things, and I appreciate doing different things, because I want to give you different content. And if you like any of my stuff, please like and subscribe and share it to somebody else, because you know I'm currently not making any money off of this, and that's not my whole purpose, but it does help because I'm semi-retired and I run some really small businesses on the side, and this also helps. I'm a caretaker, I'm a mechanic, I do mobile mechanics, and I do light equipment mechanics in the area. And anyhow, with that said, I also run a landscaping business called Patriot Landscaping, and then I also do evaporative cooler startups and shutdowns, and also do some handyman services too. So I try to do a lot of different things. I've got a couple people that are hired, and anyhow, we do have expenses. We have to pay for fuel, we got for the trucks, and we got to pay for maintenance on the trucks and the equipment, plus fuel for the equipment. And then, you know, I've got to pay myself, and then also I've got to pay my employees. So everything that you can do helps, and I'd really appreciate it. So we will get back with you really here shortly. I've got 2 minutes on the timer for the potato chips. Anyhow, I'll see you in a second. Okay, for the intermittent, while we're waiting for the potato chips, I want to show you a couple tips that I do, and it saves money. Okay, so I'm going to show you something right here. And what I do here is I collect all the bacon grease and all the meat grease that I use, and then what I do after that is I clear the meat away on one side of the pan up to the upside, and then I kind of just lay the pan over on the side of the stove to where all the grease goes down to the bottom of the pan. And then I collect that grease and I pour it in here. And then this grease saves you from using anything else. You're just reusing the grease that you've already paid for. So that ends up going back into here next to the butter. And it really keeps us from using more butter. So anyhow, I am going to go ahead and end this timer because it's done. And I'm going to turn the heat off. And then now what I'm going to do is I am going to put these potato chips, these homemade chips, I'm going to put them on the pan that I put inside the oven. And I'm going to let them absorb the grease. And while that's happening, I am going to go ahead and salt it. Salt it and then put whatever type of seasoning on it to my taste. We will get back with you here in just a second. Okay, so we're back with you. And I've turned this pan handle to where it's out of the way, because I've got this right here really close, and I want to keep it close because I don't want to spill all this grease everywhere. So yeah, you just kind of put it over there, spread it out a little bit. Some of these pieces, they're stubborn because they're stuck to the grease that's stuck to the tongs, and they want to they want to get you irritated. But don't get irritated, man. Like, just take a breather. You know, if you start getting upset and frustrated, you know, this is one of the things that can frustrate people. But yeah, so here's another thing too. When you grab them with the tongs, you see how the tongs have like a cup right there? They're curved. They're actually curved. So what you do is you grab these And you can grab a bunch of them if you want, but turn them vertically to where the oil comes out and doesn't cup inside there, because otherwise you're gonna be putting oil everywhere where you don't want it to be. And I know for some people, you know, they don't have patience. Sometimes I don't. But anyhow, this needs to be done. Like, if you don't do it right, then don't do it at all, because you're gonna make yourself mad. Because these potato chips are not going to be crispy. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be crispy if you don't do it and get all the oil off of them, because you want the least amount of oil on your paper towel. And then when you have all of them on your paper towel, you don't always have to grab them like individually, like what I'm doing right now, because I can grab them in a multitude and then just let the grease drip off of them, and then put them over here, and the grease is going to absorb into the paper towel, and then I can spread them out. And you know, we're not in the business of making Lay's potato chips, so we're not worried about, you know, time, and time is money, and profit and all those things. So, you know, we're making it because we love our family, and we want to make something good for our family. So, you know, we're not worried too much about time. I mean, if you are worried about time, then don't do it unless you have some time. You know what I'm saying? Like, time constraint does not make quality food. And you know what I'm talking about if you've ever eaten at McDonald's, or if you've eaten at some other place. You know, it just doesn't work. You got to put time and effort into things to get results. And, you know, as you're practicing, you can get results and make better time. It takes time for practice. So, you got this. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I mean, most of my life, I have never been a chef in my entire life, ever. I've never worked at a restaurant as a chef. And, you know, now I wish that I would have, because I'm so good at cooking now that I actually really enjoy it. But in the past, I didn't have time for it because I was raising a family, and I was a heavy equipment mechanic at a gold mine. I worked 12-hour shifts, so I didn't have time for all of this, except for maybe a weekend. You know, on the weekend I had some time. I like to barbecue, and I like to smoke meats and things like that. But anyhow, like I said, if you ain't got time, don't even attempt to do it. And if you don't got patience, and you're gonna get mad and you're gonna start throwing stuff everywhere, because I had a father like that. He had a business, and you know, I was in like elementary school, like in my upper 6th grade, and he used to have me come down on the weekend and would work with him, and I hated it because my dad was bipolar or something. There was something wrong with him. He had the least amount of patience, and he used to throw things all over the shop. It was scary, and I hated working with him. And then he had me work with him in my younger days. I think it was my junior year in high school, but it was horrible. I hated it. You know, I don't want people to hate their parents. Sorry, I put my hand in the way because I had to do something with that because I need to get some more paper towel. But anyways, yeah, he was horrible to work with. my uncle Bill Nicholson had went to work with my dad. He didn't like working with my dad either. So he just mostly became like a financial partner. And so my dad worked alone a lot. And that makes sense. Because, like, you don't want to get hit in the head with a wrench. You know, just because somebody gets mad and they're frustrated with their work. You don't want to live in that environment. That's dangerous. And it doesn't do anything for your morale of the company. It just makes you hate who you work with when they're angry and they're yelling and they're throwing things and they're discriminating your work when you're trying to do your best, and they never take the time to show you the proper way that would please them for the rest of their life. So yeah, that's what I had to deal with. So we're gonna go ahead and put this over here. Now I got these little lids, okay? There's these little lids that go on these little containers. And I just, when I'm not using the little containers, what I do is I just take them, I use them over here by the stove. And then I put things in it so that it captures the grease and it doesn't dirty up the counters. So at this point, we've got some paper towel with grease. We got the potatoes that they're done, they're cooked, and anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and salt them. We're not gonna salt them. We're gonna salt them, and then we're gonna put some. Let's spice them up a little bit. We'll put a little bit of paprika on there. What do you think? Sometimes I put paprika on my popcorn. And then maybe a little bit of pepper. Okay, so now after we've done that, then we're going to go ahead and slide that back over so it doesn't fall off. We're going to open up the oven. The oven is already heated. It's on a warm cycle, so we're just going to go ahead and let that warm up. Let it absorb the grease. That way the chips will come out nice and crispy. And if they don't, we can always throw it in here and then put it on air crisp for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then it'll come out nice and crispy. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, so I let this set for about 5 minutes and it still looks a little bit greasy. So what I think I'm gonna try to do is put another layer of paper towel on the top to absorb the grease off the chips on the lower layer. Let's try that. Be right back with you. So I put an upper layer of paper towels on there, and anyhow, look how much grease was still on the top. I am going to peel that off. Be right back with you folks. Okay, I had peeled off the upper layer of the paper towels that had gotten soaked, and there's so I'll get rid of some of these double layers, but there's not too much that really needs to be soaked up. But that was a 5-minute test, so we're gonna put this back in here, and mind you, the oven is just on a warm cycle, so I'm gonna put a timer on for like maybe 15 minutes this time, and then hit start. Cause don't forget to hit start, because if you don't hit start, what is going to happen is the oven's going to turn off and you're not going to know. and it's going to be more time needed. Be right back with you. I just got another idea. I think that I'm going to go ahead and take those chips off. The paper towel on the cookie sheet, because I think the paper towel is going to keep containing the grease and it's going to never go away on the chips. So I think I'm going to flip this and peel them all off and put them on a plain pan, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is what I got out of peeling most of it off of the paper towel that I had absorbing the grease, and there was a lot of it that was stuck to the grease on the paper towel. So anyhow, that wasn't gonna work. So this is always, you know, it's always an experiment in progress, and that's the way that we should always do things. We shouldn't give up just because we failed the first time. But you know, I've been cooking since I was 17 years old, and unfortunately I'm 54 now. But with that experiment or experience of being 54 years old, and that means that I have 37 years of cooking experience. And you know what? A lot of my friends, they really appreciate when I do make things. And there's good and bad things about that. Because when you cook really good and they don't, and they're single, then they just want to come over to your house more often. They're like, when are you going to barbecue? When are you going to smoke meat? When are you going to make shish kebabs? When are you know, they're always asking you when you are going to make money. I mean, not money, but food. So we're going to put that in the oven. But you know what? What you can do is you can make money out of cooking. So what you can do is you can tell people, you know what? If you want me to smoke meat for you, and yet you don't have time for it, but I do, then this is what we can do. I can smoke your meat for you, but you gotta buy it. And if you don't want to buy it, I'm going to charge you for the meat, and then I'm going to charge you for the time that I spent cooking it. And if you look at like cooking, you know, you look at cooking per hour, you can make some money, and I've done it. So I don't have any problem with cooking for people as long as I have time. I mean, I run 5 different things that I do. And then, you know, there's times where, you know, I have some downtime. And when I'm doing downtime, I'm doing paperwork. And then when I'm doing paperwork, I have time to cook. And, you know, most of my smoking meat recipes take anywhere from 1 hour of smoke, 2 hours of cook, 1 hour of barbecue, so that's like 4 hours. There's some other things that take, you know, less. And it depends on how many pounds the meat is. It can take, you know, 6 to 8 hours, and sometimes longer. And the slower that you smoke it, the slower you cook it, the meat is better. It's more tender, and it just falls off the bone. It's amazing. But yeah, I have no problem with cooking for people. I mean, I'm really good at breakfast, and I guess lunch and dinner too. So, yeah, I've been doing this all my life since I was 17 years old, and I don't mind it. If I have time, I don't mind it. But I do, you know, I have my times where if I don't have time, and people are pressing me for time, you know, then I get a little irritated, just like anybody else. So, anyhow, those are my chips, and they're going to come out really good, and I will get back with you in just a second. Okay, so what I just did is I had went ahead and checked one of the chips, and from my experience, I don't think that it's going to get crispy. So I turned on the oven at 390, and I can't remember how many minutes that I put it on, maybe 10? But 390 10 or 390 15. But I will double check on them before the time runs out. That way I make sure that I don't burn them, and that we have some good homemade potato chips. Be right back with you. Okay, so what we got going on now is I'm heating up the oven to 350 degrees, because when I checked these chips earlier, they were pretty soggy. And so I thought, well, oh no, I gotta put it up to 390, because if you look at this one right here, it bends in half. Obviously, if you eat Lay's potato chips, you know they're not supposed to do that. So I'm gonna run them up to 390, because in the Ninja, you know, there's a basket that goes in there, and the basket's pretty small, and it won't hold all those potato chips. So I'm not gonna put them in there, because that will go up to 392, and I can air crisp them. But I think I'll be just fine in the oven. Anyways, we'll get back to the oven in just a second.